And who's telling them those are large? You know, that's the thing. Leonard did great to get the. I don't like that at all.
I heard
Luckily for us,
Good evening. It's 6:30 p.m. Monday, July 12, 2021. I'm Mayor Chris Martin, calling to order the regular session of the Logansport Common Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Amy Danforth?
Present.
Very good.
Present.
Jonathan Nell?
Present.
Jake Don?
Present.
Scott Key?
Present.
Bruce Mayer? Absent. Carl McPherson?
Here.
Dave Morris? Absent.
And we'll start with the approval of minutes for the June 7th and June 21st, 2021 meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Amy Danforth?
Abstain.
Very good.
Yes.
Jonathan Nell?
Yes.
Jake Don?
Yes.
Scott Key?
Yes.
Carl McPherson?
Yes. Comments of the mayor. I do have a letter.
We got 2 sets of minutes.
Oh, I said June 7th. Okay. So that was for June 7th. June 21st.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
I was here for the 7th, but they read them together.
Call for question.
Amy Danforth?
Earlier they were both read at the same time. I changed my vote for June 7th, yes, and abstain for June 21st.
For 21st, yeah.
Thank you.
Very good.
Yes.
Jonathan Nell?
Yes.
Jake Don?
Yes.
Scott Key?
Yes.
Carl McPherson?
Yes.
Next.
There we go. All right. Okay, comments of the mayor. I have a letter here from Galbraith, James Galbraith of Galbraith Industrial Services. Dear members of the City Council, we were recently informed on the possibility of improving the downtown area of Erie Avenue. Businesses in this area would significantly benefit from this improvement, as it would increase the amount of potential customers traveling through that side of Erie Avenue. This improvement would stimulate the local economy, allowing more downtown businesses to thrive. We fully support the plan to improve downtown Erie Avenue and eagerly await the results of the decision. Sincerely, James Galbraith of Galbraith Industrial Services. Tonight, Council, it will be a very important vote on Erie Avenue, and there are many people in the audience who would like to speak on this. And so when we get to that point, I would like to call on those individuals to come up to speak to you on the importance of that vote of Erie Avenue. Moving on, though, presentation from Linda Johnson. Linda.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Besides the handout that you already have, there's some of our more fancy pamphlets and our business cards. Thank you, Mayor Martin and Council, for allowing me to be here and to be a part of this meeting. I am Linda Johnson, Director of the Guardianship Program, that is an umbrella agency under Area 5 in-home services, community service here in Logansport. I did send up to Dwayne the 3-page presentation. Let me give you very quickly my goal here, and then I would like to share with you some facts and details so you better understand what the guardianship program is all about. Every year, in the fall, I have to submit a large grant to the Indiana Supreme Court, and there is a 2-to-1 match. So, simply put, if I raise $10,000, then that means I can ask the Supreme Court for $20,000. However, since we cover 5 counties with this program now, I started researching it back in 2017 because we had some issues come up in one county. It was in Tipton County at the hospital. And Area 5 says, I don't know what we do. We don't have anything for guardianship. They had a gentleman stuck there for probably 60 days or better who had no Medicare or Medicaid and no family, no one to help him. And lo and behold, there in Tipton County, no one would step forward and be his guardian. They had to go to Kokomo to find someone to be his guardian. So that kind of spun the investigation. I had it ready to go for January 2018 for Tipton County. In 2019, I added Howard and Cass. I was begged by one of the mental health associations to come here a year sooner, so that was fine. It worked out good. And then the following year, 2020, last year, I added Fulton and Miami. However, we were majorly interrupted, like you all, with COVID, and it was a very, very slow to stagnant year there in Fulton. We did get 2 guardianships. So, with that said, in our 6th county that we typically serve under Area 5 is Wabash, and they're currently served by a sister program out of Fort Wayne, a sister guardianship program. So I am and have always promised I would get around much earlier in the year. This is a big step, even though it's not as early as I even would have liked. But I wanted to get here while you're in the midst, or even if I could have gotten here a little bit before, while you're working on your fiscal budget. I know the mayor has edit funds. I know you as a council has edit funds, and that is what a lot of the council and mayors are doing in the other counties, is earmarking funds, and have done that in the past. Neither one of you entities, if I can say it that way, have been asked recently in the last year or so. Previously, when I first started in up here, I did ask that before that year. It wasn't you, Mayor Martin, it was a previous mayor. At that time, there were projects going on, and I was turned down. It's not that I didn't want to come back up here and that I didn't want your help. It's just been extremely busy. But my promise holds true now that I have all the counties launched and I'm back. I will be hitting all of the county councilmen. A lot of the councilmen in some of the counties do give, so they're familiar with my face. Entities such as the mental health organizations, hospitals, foundations do give. Area 5 does not give any money to us. I'm not sure if that's because of a conflict of interest with the funds that we do get from the Supreme Court or not, but I am totally on my own. The first year I had a budget of $45,000. The second year, it may have gone down a tad bit because we were launched and underway, and it started out with just me. Then in 2019, that budget increased, and I added my first staff person, which is Alicia Sturgis. She's my staff coordinator. She's a familiar face and the right entity here in Logansport, as she was a mental health case manager out of Fort County. Mayor Martin worked with her out there, and I appreciate the fact that he has a history and perhaps an understanding of the need for our work. I am thrilled to death to say that we have carried on, increased the budget, and were able to hire our third staff person in January of this year. It was scheduled to happen last year, but with COVID, everything slowed down. So, I am thrilled to death to share with you that the third staff person is Sean Durham. He has 12 years of law enforcement background and is just dynamite. Hit the ground running with us in January, totally understands the need after being police chief in some of our small towns around the community in the past. So what is this and what, again, obviously then, I'm here, let me finish this. Obviously I'm here looking for donations. I am not going to ask you necessarily to vote tonight, let you chew on it. I'll be back in August and September. You're the last of the 5 councils just because of where I started and what meetings I could and couldn't hit on your schedules. Then my next group of people, like I said, are the county councilmen. And I speak all the time out in other places. I get on radio stations. I just hit the streets and hit the bricks, besides handling Ticton County and wearing another hat as case manager at Area 5. So I'm busy, but I want to be here. This is important. This program is not one that I'm going to tell you we have hundreds and thousands of people. It doesn't work that way, but I will tell you, we have the most fragile, the most at risk, the most vulnerable people that will live in your community. These are adults who have no one appropriate or no one at all to become their guardian and have some sort of incapacity. So this program is labeled through the Indiana Supreme Court as the VASIA program, Volunteer Advocates for Seniors and Incapacitated Adults. It was researched back in 2009, 2010, and so forth by Professor Genuine out of Notre Dame. He made a recommendation in 2012 to the Indiana Supreme Court that this program needed to be statewide. It was approved and written into legislature, and here we are. The Indianapolis State Office, Guardianship Office, was started in 2014. There is now a statewide registry that attorneys have to complete before they can file their electronic filings now for court. And that is available to hospitals, police, facilities, and so forth. Of course, there was a starting place, so it's not filled with data years old, but it's a starting place. It's a step forward. We're here because of it, and we'll continue to be here and hopefully have the Supreme Court behind us and have some funding that we can continue to gain there, as well as more and more help from the community. I wish I had a megaphone, although I speak pretty loud without it, but I wish I could get around to enough people to where we could have $50 donations take us through and not have to come and ask for these bigger monies. But right now, as we continue to start our 5th year, we're here. I am looking for $5,000 from each mayor and $5,000 from each city council, likewise county council, likewise community foundations, and so forth. I realize that may be turned down in some cases, but please find what you can. I'm asking that you look at that number out of your edit funds and earmark that so that come August, September, or before, if you want to vote on it and send me a pledge letter, ultimately that's what I need by mid-October to include in my Supreme Court grant to show evidence of who is supporting this, and then January 1st, I would need the funds or thereabouts. It's a process where I'll get notification into mid-December. I'll notify all the donors that we've gotten the Supreme Court monies, and please proceed to write your letter and send in to us to get the year started. I think the letter of intent that you have is fairly self-explanatory. What I want to just reiterate specifically on the numbers, and that's at the bottom of your first page. How many do we currently serve out of the 5 counties? We currently have 20 active appointed guardianships. We had 4 deaths right around Easter time. So that number does fluctuate. We have 1 or 2 in progress. What does that specifically mean for Cass County? We have specifically 4 appointed guardianships right now that are still in Cass County. I will say though, 2 that we have over under Miami County originally came from here. It was a mom and son situation where we worked with APS and it was prudent. The son went to VA, the mother went to a parenting care out at the base. So it does fluctuate. They're not all IDD. That may be their inability, but many have dementia. We had a lovely blind lady that I've known for years in Kokomo. She passed away. She was one of the ones we lost close to Easter. So there are all kinds of disabilities, but these folks do not have any family or do not have family appropriate to be their guardian. Obviously, if APS gets involved, there could be some exploitation going on, or that may be a case where they're living in unbelievable conditions. The stories that I have attached as page 2, I'm looking to see what I included for Cass County. The third one down, if I've got the right set, I change these occasionally when I go from city to city, but the third one down that I think you have the version of was the APS case where it included the mother and son, and their living conditions were just despicable. The son had maggots inside his own bottom, and so living in their own feces, it was just deplorable. So these poor folks, when they're incapacitated, they can't help themselves. But we have taken them. They are much, much better today and thriving and living a much more quality life. They're not being exploited by anyone. They're not living on the street. They're not in your mission, a mosque mission. They're not in a county home that the residents here have to support. So you could look at it that $5,000 might be a drop in the bucket. We're probably one of your peon problems in the long and the short of it, but it's extremely important. We've taken a lady off of the streets in Kokomo, and she has been up here in a group home for about 9 or 10 months. So sometimes they do move around from county to county because of where we can give them the best help. One of the mom and sons over in Miami County, where the city demolished a home, we had to find him the appropriate home in Anderson. And mom is then again appearing at the base. So that means our staff is driving to Anderson twice a month to see him. We would not ask a volunteer who's not even getting their gas reimbursed to go that far. So it's our salaries, our gas, our efforts in providing for them. The attorneys all work pro bono. I am very pleased with Cass County and the attorneys' willingness to help us. I am also extremely pleased and thankful for Judge Kitt, who supports the program willingly and will waive court fees when needed, and which is almost nearly all the time. We have yet to get one out of these 22, and we've lost at least 12 to 15 clients in the 4 years. No one's had money that's been able to pay for anything. So with that said, the third page, just so you better understand what it's for, I get often asked, well, what do you do for our communities? You're asking for money. What do you do to help save us money? That's a really tough question. My crystal ball is just not that clear, but what I can demonstrate or show you are some of those examples on the back. And they may not even have every example. Obviously, there's only 4 that I could go gather a little bit of truthful data to give you as examples of savings. But one I can tell you is the very first client in Tipton. Bless her heart, she rode her electric scooter all around Tipton, a small town, of course, you probably all know that. And all the time she'd get stuck in one corner of the town or the other with her batteries dead. The police, of course, couldn't lift her scooter. They're extremely heavy, and they barely could get her in their car to take her home. Why can't you do something? Well, I was not her guardian. No one could make her do anything. She was her own self. But I was working on the program, so she was never one on the list. And I was helping her as much as I could from a case manager standpoint. But come to find out, one of the straws that broke the camel's back, Chief Ogden come to me and he said, I have had 83 calls in 10 months from this lady to simply come and help her get up. The last time he went to help her get up, she said, could you get me a blanket off the bed? One of his staff did and brought it to her. He went and talked to the health department and said, do something or I'm going to go real public real quick. God love her, she had mice running all inside her mattress, over her mattress, under her mattress, cockroaches everywhere, feces in her bed, besides the 83 times that she had called him in 10 months. And I mean, not him, but used 911. So the whole crew goes out times, Chief Ogden said, $1,800 a run. Plus you're derailing the emergency crew that's going that way from being available for a true emergency. I said, thank you, we'll get on it. In fact, I was called back from the state that afternoon when I was at a training session for the first year going into this. I gladly came back and helped. We got her to the Tipton Hospital that afternoon for a 3 or 4 day stay. She was a kind of a gray color. It was sad. She was obviously not eating well. She spent a few months at Miller's, and I continued to look for the appropriate place for her. She has thrived now for over 2 years. She's in Hartford City at a group home. She's lost over 70 pounds, can nearly walk without her walker, does not use her electric scooter, and is happy as a lark. I have her brother now, and I hope to be able to rejoin them so that they can visit more face to face. Guys, I just can't speak about the stories, and I don't want to belabor you with this because they're similar in nature. Just know we're doing our darndest and our best for all of these communities. You guys included, you're important. I love Logansport. I've lived 40 plus years in Howard County. I've been in Tipton a short time. I'm back on my family farm and making a drive now. But I love these counties, and I want to keep helping these people. They need us. So if you would very kindly think about this. Again, I'll come back in probably August or September. Probably you guys more towards September, or I might write an email and see if you guys want to take a vote without me coming and occupying your time, and let me know what you could commit to out of your edit funds to help us. I really, really appreciate the time. I'd be glad to answer any questions I could, if you have any, or call me anytime. And very most importantly, if you know of anyone that needs, well, any of our services, but particularly the guardianship, since I'm here for that tonight, please give us a shout. Our referral and our volunteer forms, if you also know of anyone that would like to volunteer, those forms are on our website, area5.com, for each county. So you could even pull a referral form. Anyone in the community can make a referral and send it our way. I thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you for bringing this
Thank
to
you.
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you, Linda. All right, reports from committees, boards, and commissions.
The Parks Committee met before this evening's meeting to discuss alcohol in the park for special events and to start the conversation about disc golf.
Parks, or the Finance Committee met, Mayor, on July the 12th, discussed 2 items, purchase of lands for the right-of-way at 4th and Market at the northwest corner, and also approving $4,307.67 to finish the East End paving project off of Jamestown Drive.
Okay. On to old business, ordinance 2021-18, Councilman Beatty.
Ordinance 2021-18, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending the Logansport and Fringe Zoning Ordinance
Logansport Gateway Overlay Standards. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to call for a vote on ordinance 2021-18, please.
Second.
Okay. Call for question on the second reading of ordinance 2021-18.
Councilman Ellis?
Yes.
Carl McPherson?
Yes.
Jake Bond?
Yes.
Amy Denzel?
Yes.
Larry Hood?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-18.
Scott Peet?
Oh,
Yes.
Sorry, Scott. Scott's serving as part of the organization down here.
too much of a
That's all
pause
right.
there.
Easy, Mayor, easy.
Ordinance 2021-18 passes. Ordinance 2021-19 on its second reading. Councilman Nels.
Ordinance 2021-19, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending the Logansport and Friends zoning ordinance table of land use. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2021-19 on its second reading.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Carl McPherson?
Yes.
Jake Bond?
Yes.
Amy Denzel?
Yes.
Larry Hood?
Yes.
Scott Peet?
Yes.
Councilman Ellis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-19 passes on the second reading. On to new business, resolution 2021-128. Councilman McPherson.
Resolution 2021-128, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing the expenditure of seed funds for the establishment of a bicycle shop and a hot tub repair shop as Logansport businesses. Make a recommendation to move it for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I have grave concerns about the language of this resolution. This, to me, looks like misuse of power, and I don't think that's really what we want to say.
128.
How so?
Well, there are a lot of services that I can't have provided for me, or I have to travel out of town, but I can't offer someone $1,000 to
Start a business.
start a lash business, or, I mean, I'm all in supporting new business, but when it's specific for an elected official, I think that's misuse of power, in my opinion. So, that's my comment.
Any other discussion? Call for question.
Scott Peet?
Yes.
Larry Hood?
No.
Councilman Ellis?
Yes.
Jake Bond?
Yes.
Amy Denzel?
No.
Carl McPherson?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-128 passes 4-2. Resolution 2021-131, Councilman Liddell.
Resolution 2021-131, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, providing the right-of-way for the state of Indiana. I ask for a vote on resolution 2021-131.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Larry Hood?
Yes.
Councilman Ellis?
Yes.
Jake Bond?
Yes.
Amy Denzel?
Yes.
Carl McPherson?
Yes.
Scott Peet?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-131 passes. Resolution 2021-132, Councilman Hood.
Resolution 2021-132 is a resolution amending Resolution 2020-123 of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the appointment of members of the Historic Preservation Society. Mayor Martin, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2021-132.
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Amy Dennis.
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Scott Petey.
Yes.
Jacob Don.
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Jonathan Allen.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-132 passes. Resolution 2021-133, Councilwoman Dinsmore.
Resolution 2021-133, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving a request for a proposal for a new roof for the Logansport Memorial Home. I'd like to move Resolution 2021-123 forward for a vote.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for roll. Yeah. Call for question.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Scott Petey.
Yes.
Jonathan Allen.
Yes.
Amy Dennis.
Yes.
Jacob Don.
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-133 passes. Resolution 2021-134, Councilman Petey.
133 or 134?
134.
Resolution 2021-134, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving A&Z Engineering to complete engineering and design work for the South 2nd Street project. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2021-134.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah. Okay, this $134,000 is just for the engineering and design, right? Are they gonna apply for the grant? This $134,000 we're giving them, is that just for engineering, or is that for what? I mean,
That's for the engineering.
and they're gonna apply for the grant for the city.
Yes.
And this is gonna be a 50-50 match, or is
In
this gonna be
2020.
an 80-20? 50-50?
50-50, yep.
All right, okay, but so we're just approving the engineering and stuff. We're not approving any money at this time,
Correct.
for what it's gonna cost.
For the actual, but yeah. We're not approving the money for a match. This is just for the design and engineering.
All right.
All right, any further discussion? Call for question.
Amy Dennis.
Yes.
Jonathan Allen.
Yes.
Scott Petey.
Yes.
Jacob Don.
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-134 passes. Ordinance 2021-25, Councilman Nellis.
Ordinance 2021-25, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending ordinance 2015-44 for payment of rehabilitation and repair of West Market Street Bridge to House Street in Logansport, Indiana, Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2021-25 for the first reading.
Well, first off, I think that's Heath Street on Health Street.
Yep, he's.
I'll make a second on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Yeah, we got a
You
second.
did get a second? I seconded.
Scott did.
All right, Scott seconded. Call for question.
Jonathan Allen.
Yes.
Scott Petey.
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Jacob Don.
Yes.
Amy Dennis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-25 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2021-26, Councilman Don.
Ordinance 2021-26, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, prohibiting the use of alcoholic beverages in city parks, excepting certain circumstances granted by the Logansport Parks and Recreation Board. I ask for a vote on ordinance 2021-26.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to make note that some members of the Logansport Arts Alliance came this evening in support of this. And if somebody wants to come up and talk, I think you have them. Are they still here? Oh, if you have an event coming up, maybe?
Work on the.
You want to just talk about your event real quick? And in September, I think.
Yes,
Okay.
September 18th, we have Art on the Avenue, which is typically held at Little Turtle, but Little Turtle is still under construction, and so we're holding it at Fairview Park. Fairview Park does meet the guidelines as far as being close to the school, as long as we keep the alcohol booth at the north side of the park, which we plan to do anyways. We didn't have it last year because of COVID, and we also didn't have the Two Rivers Music Festival, so we were combining both of those at Art on the Avenue this year. So it should be a decent.
And your event's gonna be when, September? Okay.
Is it Saturday, Sunday, or
It's
Saturday?
just Saturday.
Just Saturday?
Just Saturday, yeah.
Okay.
So 11 o'clock is when we're planning on the vendors to open up, and then we've never done this before, so the closing time is not for sure, but we plan on having 2 bands, louder bands, play, so we figured the vendors will probably close about 5.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Call for question. Yeah. Who seconded? Nels? Yeah.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jason Dahl,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Larry Hood,
No.
Jonathan Allen,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-26 passes on its first reading.
I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
I second.
All right, call for question on suspension of rules.
Amy Dinsmore,
Yes.
Jonathan Allen,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Jason Dahl,
Yes.
Scott Petey.
Yes.
All right, suspension of rules. Do I have a motion to vote on the second reading of ordinance 2021-26?
So moved.
Second.
Call for question.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Larry Hood,
No.
Jason Dahl,
Yes.
Jonathan Allen,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-26 passes on its second reading. Ordinance 2021-27, Councilman Nels.
Ordinance 2021-27, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the funding of a community crossings grant for work on the annex streets. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2021-27 on its first reading.
I second.
Any further discussion? Call for question.
Jason Dahl,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Allen,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Amy Dinsmore.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-27 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2021-28, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2021-28 is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the funding of design and survey work for Erie Avenue. Mayor Martin, I'm asking for a vote, first reading on ordinance 2021-28.
Second.
All right, we have Crossroads Engineers here to answer any questions. This is for the design work from 5th to 17th Street, correct? Or 5th to 18th Street.
5th to 17th, and we sent out some documents, I think the last time I left them with you. I think Andrew also sent out an email and talked to a couple of you, between the last finance committee and now. When we came originally, it was for a design proposal that was for just kind of first phase. This is for the entire project, from 5th to 17th. And so, that's what you have in front of you, but we'd be happy to answer any questions. I think those exhibits kind of showed some early conceptuals, nothing set in stone, lots of work to be done and decisions to be made, but it gave some early conceptuals and did some early construction cost estimates on what that could be.
If this is approved tonight and we suspend the rules and have a second read, when would work start and when would it be completed?
So obviously it's a big project and we expect it would be done in multiple phases. But this one and the ordinances after it is actually the one that will determine that funding. If you go after the community crossings money, which is due at the end of this month, and you get that award, then it would be something that you would do in the spring of next year. Normally they announce those around December. You have to be under contract with a contractor within 4 months. And then the construction for that first phase, right now we're saying that it would be that construction season next year, but 6 months or so.
So approving the $585,000 for engineering and design, you're not going to do all the way? You're just going to do it in phases?
We will design it all in one, but I'm saying how you're going to get it funded is probably going to happen in phases.
All right. And how often do these grants come up that you're applying for and they only have $1 million at a time? Because this whole project we're talking about, which Erie Avenue has to be done from 5th to 17th, you're talking about a $10 million project, right?
Yeah, right now the preliminary conceptual cost is around 6.
Around 10?
6.
6
million.
For
all the way to 17.
From 15 to 17. So you're talking $3 million for the city.
If you would get all those in grants, that you maxed out on how much you can get on those grants.
All right, most of these grants are only $1 million?
These are, yeah. So
Okay.
your other options are local funding or obviously the federal funding, which takes longer.
Well, the federal funding, we wouldn't be talking until 2027.
Correct.
So the way everybody's talking, I assume federal funding's out since they voted it down 2 or 3 times over the last 4 years. So what we're talking about here is going for a 50-50 match. So we're talking...
And doing that over multiple years.
So we're talking about from start to finish, from 5th Street to 17th, over multiple years of completing. We're talking what, 2026, 2027?
I mean, I think that depends. There's no set say that you can only go up that much money with local money. So if you want to go more than the 50-50 match, you can.
With local money,
With
yeah.
local
But if
money.
we want to go 50-50 match, then we're stuck in doing them in phases.
Right.
And the reason that we're starting with 5th Street instead of 17th is why?
So there were a few reasons. The first being the typical section of the roadway. You have common typical section through Market Street. And when we're talking about that is on-street parking, what the sidewalk widths are, the lights, the different concrete textures and things like that. A lot of those features have kind of already been established in the downtown area. That was one of the reasons.
And that helps the speed of the design because this is such a fast track to construct next year.
Right. The second reason was because the limits of that from 5th to 8th, 9th fell within a good dollar amount that met. You could cleanly get that project done within the CCMG kind of match. To your point, Carlos, you can't do the whole thing at once. So as opposed to trying to kind of generate some enthusiasm, we can knock that downtown area out and then work on the residential area. There were also some logistics that we have to work out with, how do we tie in 18th Street, 17th Street? And you mentioned you wanted to see more as far as sidewalks, bike lanes. There's a lot of discussion and things to kind of vet through, and that's part of the.
We feel like those are more in the residential area to work out than in the commercial area.
Yeah, and that's why we want the first ordinance is to get the design going. So we'll design the whole thing with the focus right now to get the downtown jumpstart the downtown area, and over the next few months, we'll have conversations with the stakeholders, deciding LMU and you all, showing you different typical section options, making sure that we meet the needs of the residents and council and the mayor and all the stakeholders through that design process, so that as we wrap up the downtown construction, we're ready to go with the next section. It very well could be, if you guys decide to pass the CCMG tonight for the downtown, we very well could be starting at 17 the following year if we get some consensus on what that looks like and work back to downtown. There's a lot of options available from that perspective, but the idea for this particular ordinance is get the whole design done, get something that everybody's on board with, and then we can tackle the phasing and how we piecemeal it together through different discussions going from this point on.
I think the other thing that was discussed, at least locally, was the benefit to some of the businesses and trying to help that area and revive some of that area. And you've got some other projects that this is kind of keying off of as well that are right adjacent to it.
Yeah, but my main concern going 3 or 4 blocks each time, is this going to drag out like the Melbourne project we've got down here? The bridge was built over Market Street there that lasted years and years. I mean,
I think, Carl, I think we're all in agreement that Erie Avenue needs to be redone.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea is to get the whole design done, and as we process through that, we're going to identify opportunities, cost savings. We can figure out as a group how best to piece this together. Now, it very well could end up being, a 3 or 4 year long process if that makes the most sense for the city. But if the city's willing to make some additional investments or other grant opportunities come along, we can pump that money into it and make it a 2-phase thing.
so when these other grants come available, you're going to apply for the city then?
Yes. And that would be part of the process is get the.
I just don't want to see it dragging out like all the others, because coming up and down there, the traffic that they do have.
Well, I think the other, it's in bad shape, right? So dragging out.
It's been in bad shape for years. Nobody ever wanted to do anything about it.
Right.
So I think that's the number one goal. Is let's get a design done.
That's the reason I was for $500 and some $1,000. That's a lot of money, but if that's what it costs, that's what it costs. So, all right, I have no other questions. Anybody else? I just don't want to do it.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on the Erie Avenue project? Mark?
Ladies first.
Becky?
Hello, I'm basically just going to repeat the same comments that I made at the last meeting, and that is that one advantage to looking at the 5th Street end of Erie, as these gentlemen have reiterated again, is that there's already a template in place. You're not starting from scratch with how wide should the sidewalks be, how far apart should the lighting be, that type of thing. There's already a template. 5th to 8th is within the downtown district. It is a pretty neglected portion of the downtown district. I think a couple of you were surprised to find that that is in the downtown district. So that kind of goes to show that it's a forgotten section of the downtown. This project would also, as I understand it, include a little spiffing up of that one block of 5th Street. So that would benefit a couple of businesses there in that block of 5th Street, Emilio's, and then there's the Farm Fresh Market next door to that. Those 2 businesses have been really impacted by the very lengthy closure of Melbourne Avenue. So I think rolling this out as the Melbourne project is, please God, finally coming to an end, is going to kind of jumpstart the fact that that portion of downtown is once again accessible, it's once again open for business. They've been open for business, but it's been very hard for people to get there. You have several businesses along Erie Avenue in this section, 6 or 7 businesses, and I know at least 1 or 2 of them are here this evening, and Jim Galbraith had written that letter that's been read into the minutes of the meeting as well. So you do have some businesses there, and again, the fact that we have to scramble to come up with the names of those businesses tells us that they've been constantly kind of overlooked. That section is commercial, industrial, whichever word you want to use. The residential section is going to be a whole different ballgame as far as how fancy you want it to be. This end doesn't need to be particularly fancy. My focus would be more on functionality, but while you're doing it, let's make it look like the rest of downtown. That's not going to add a whole lot, I wouldn't think, to the cost to make the sidewalks the same as they are in the rest of downtown, for example. I do feel like this would really be a boon to downtown and would let the downtown businesses know that they're being acknowledged and that we do appreciate them and we want to keep them there. You know, we talk about economic development and we tend to think of that in terms of bringing new businesses into an area. We also need to support the businesses that are already here. And a lot of these businesses have been there for quite a few years, and I think we need to acknowledge that. We don't want them to go away. We need to bring them to the table sometimes as well. That's really all I have to say. I'll let Mark come up since he let me go first.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I thank you so much for being willing to hear of some of the business owners. I own 3 properties with 4 entrances on Erie Avenue. I'll let you know I've been there for 16 years and there has been no improvement of anything in this area except one time of repaving Erie Avenue. That's it. The sidewalk that is between my buildings has been decimated. There is nothing there at all, except some glass. So this is a particular interest for me. I don't know if you know what I do or not. I'm the guy that built the Batmobiles here in Logansport. And up until now, we've kept it relatively low-key and relatively secret because we didn't want to draw a lot of attention. If I put a giant sign on the building that says Batmobile Factory, there'd be a line of people, 100 people deep, all week long. We do lots of tours. I am building a Batman museum, however, and that's at 525 East Market, which happens to have the back end of the building facing Erie Avenue, which is why this is a particular interest for me. And my goal with this, if not for COVID, we would have held a BatCon. I don't know if you've heard about it, you've seen it in the newspapers probably, a comic book convention out at the airport. My goal was to move it to this building, to downtown Logansport, and to create both an indoor and an outdoor festival, which kind of rings a bell, doesn't it? Remember when we used to do festivals and how cold those were? I want to do a giant Batman superhero festival. And this is going to draw people from all over the world. We have people come from Austria. We have people come from Australia. We have people coming in from Florida, from Chicago, all over the place. If not for COVID, we would have had people coming in from California as well. During 2020, just to let you know, these people are coming into Logansport, they're staying in our hotels, they're eating at our restaurants, they are supporting our local economy. And this is the kind of thing that is going to be a huge boost for this kind of event. And I plan on doing it annually. So it would be a huge, huge benefit. So please keep that in mind. And as far as the design team goes, I have 4 entrances requiring semi-trucks and Batmobiles, which are 19 feet 10 inches long, so they can't make really tight turns. It have no turn radius at all. The bat turn lever is just for the imagination. It does not really work. So please be careful about those designs for those rampways and entrances and things of this nature. And that's what I have for you folks tonight. So please strongly consider it, because it's going to be great for the city and for those coming in from out of the city too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on Erie Avenue? Pam?
Hi, I'm Diana Brown from Logan's Landing, and I will encourage you to put this through, start at 5th through 8th Street. We've treated Erie Avenue as an ugly stepchild for too long. It is part of downtown. We do all these improvements downtown, Broadway, Market, 4th, High Street, 6th Street, Erie Avenue, and forget it. That's not fair to those businesses that are there. It really hurts their businesses. And side note, Tom Partridge could not be here tonight, but he sent me a video sent to him from James Galbraith showing the rain that we had this evening coming down 8th Street and straight across his property. So there are issues like that on Erie Avenue that could be addressed with this. If you want to see the video, I could share it with you. So I encourage you to please help the neglected part of downtown.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Let's vote. Oh, sorry about that, my friend.
I'm Jim Crane. I'm from Logan's Landing as a representative, as a board member. We do try to take care of Logansport's downtown district between the two rivers and up to 8th Street between the two rivers. This obviously is a very expensive project. It is one of the largest or widest streets in Logansport that could be beautified. I'm here to say that those businesses along there, Mr. Rakup has already spoke, Mr. Galbraith mentioned in his letter. I think it's really important to take care of those. We hear it all the time. The South Side, they're always forgotten about. Well, we've heard for the last few years about the beauty of those petunias down Burlington Avenue and across to the west side of Logansport. My brother Don was the street commissioner for 23 years, and he always talked about what could be done with Erie Avenue as an entrance from 18th Street and from 35 South. And I think we're there. We're getting there. Logansport's downtown is exploding. Thank you, Mayor, and everyone else here. But I just think it's something to be really considered as a part of another enhancement. Whether we start at 17th Street and have the final stop downtown, that's up to those. But I think it's a very important thing to think about for Logansport as you enter the city of Logansport and you're getting into the downtown. It is bustling. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thanks, Jim.
Would anyone else like to speak on the Erie Avenue? All right, any council member comments?
Nope.
I would just like to say that I agree with all the statements made. I think it's time that we stop kicking that can down the road and actually start making progress on Erie. I used to drive up and down that every day for work, and it needs a lot of work done on it. So I encourage everyone up here with me to move this forward.
Very good, John.
I guess my understanding, and I may be incorrect, letters went out to downtown business holders, but did they go to the east end at 17th?
No, because we're talking about that the 8th right now.
That's what I thought.
Okay. Any other comments from council? All right. Call for question.
Very good.
No.
Yes. This is for the design, $585,000. Yes.
Johnson, no.
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jacob Dahl,
Yes.
Amy Denton,
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-28 passes on its first reading.
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second. Any further discussion? Call for question on suspension of rules.
Larry Red,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Jonathan Dell,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jake Long,
Yes.
Amy Dennis.
No.
Suspension of rules have one no, so therefore suspension of rules does not pass. Move on to ordinance 2021-29, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2021-29, ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, committing $1 million for the community crossing matching grant fund application for the reconstruction of Erie Avenue. Mayor Martin, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2021-29, first reading.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Okay, the only thing we're doing here is committing $1 million. $1 million gonna be enough?
For the first phase, yes.
Because that's all we're gonna get from the state.
Yes. It's a 50-50 match, so it's your $1 million against their $1 million that you get granted that.
From Fifth Street to there, okay.
Yeah.
And have we decided yet? I don't see it in here anywhere where this money's coming from.
No, that wasn't.
All right, we're just gonna commit $1 million. All right, no other questions?
Any other comments?
Nope.
I would like to point out that this is the one that is due at the end of the month, so if we're going to turn in that application, we have to have that.
You want to commit the $1 million, yeah, but what we were saying, we're committing to $1 million, we're just not telling you where it's coming from.
Yeah, and that money's not spent until next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Right, in order to.
What we're giving you tonight on an up or down vote is that we're gonna say, yes, we're gonna give you $1 million that you can put in with your application to send to the state to show that we're in the ballgame.
Right.
Okay.
And if I understand correctly, you'd have to suspend the rules for the second reading, or we would not have an approved ordinance by the time we need it by the end of this month. Unless you have.
Well, let's vote on this first, and then we'll see about suspending the rules, yeah.
You could have a special meeting, gotcha.
Yep. All right, any further discussion? All right, call for question.
Jonathan Downs,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
No.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jake Long,
Yes.
Amy Dennis.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-29 passes on its first reading.
Mayor, I ask to suspend the rules and have a second vote. Second.
Call for question on suspension of rules.
Amy Dennis,
No.
Jake Long,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
No.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Jonathan Downs.
Yes.
Suspension of rules had a no, so therefore we will not move on to the second reading of ordinance 2021-29. Ordinance 2021-30. Councilman Petey?
Ordinance 2021-30, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, appropriating CARES Act funds for the general fund. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2021-30.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for question.
Jake Long,
Yes.
Amy Dennis,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Downs,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-30 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2021-30 passes on its first reading. Ordinance 2021-31, Councilman Nels.
Ordinance 2021-31, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, for additional appropriations for the seated funds number 492 and lit fund number 294. Mr. Mayor, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2021-31 for its first reading.
Have a second?
I second.
Call for question.
Jake Long,
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Jonathan Mills,
Yes.
Amy Dennis,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Carl McPherson.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-31 passes on its first reading. Any public comments? Anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment, please come to the mic, state your name and address for us. Seeing none. Council member comments?
Yeah, I've got a comment here, on the, Erie Avenue mansion of $1 million. Since we're not gonna bring it up till August the 2nd, which is the next meeting, when's the application due?
We're gonna have to hold a special meeting.
Yeah, we can
Carl.
hold, exactly, yeah.
No
We
one
can hold-
decided where those funds were coming from before tonight.
Well, but the only thing they needed was a letter of commitment from the city saying that they would come up with $1 million. We don't have to tell them where the money's coming from at this time, unless the council wants it. The money,
Well, I would say 5 out of 6 of you voted yes.
Pardon?
5 out of 6 of you voted yes. So I'm assuming that Dave Morris, who sent an email out, supporter Erie Avenue, we can hold a special meeting, right? We've got a couple of weeks at least to where we can allow Morris to come in and say, all right, where are we at? Where do we want to pull this from? I don't think this is dead at all. This isn't dead. You guys have saved it. So, I mean, at this point, I think we're okay with having a special meeting. Any other council member comments?
We're gonna have a special meeting soon.
Yes.
won't be before the 21st, 22nd. Morris doesn't get back till then.
I just need it by the 30th.
Okay.
Yeah, you just need it by the 30th, right?
Yeah, can have a meeting.
I think we can get the application there that started. I've done the estimate, the exhibit down, so it's pretty, I think it should be pretty easy to get around.
We can have one on the 26th of July. That'll give them 3 days to finish up. All they need is a letter of the things. Yeah. The 26th. That's probably when we'll have our finance committee meeting then on the 26th instead of the 19th.
There you go. Yep.
So, well, my buddy over here was asking when we were going to hold the next one, so I told him probably the 19th, but it'll probably be the 20, whatever I said.
What about the 22nd, Carl?
Well, some people said that they want to hold them on Monday. I mean, I don't care when we hold it. I'm available. Our city attorney's going to be here. He's here all the time. Good support, so I don't care. We can hold it anytime. That's what we get. Pardon?
That's the most fun we get.
That's right. I agree there.
For sure. We'll talk about it. Any other council comments?
I would just say that I would have greatly preferred to just pass them tonight, and we obviously have the votes to do it. But so long as we have a special meeting, we pass it then. I'm just tired of this getting kicked down the road.
Exactly.
You and me, my friend, I agree with you.
All right, last call. Any comments? All right, miscellaneous business and any matters not already considered, including ADA Section 504 compliance or concerns.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Call for question.
I don't know why they...
All right, Scott Petey.
Yes.
Amy Dennis,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Carl McPherson,
Yes.
Dave Don,
Yes.
Jonathan Mel.
Yes.
7:38 p.m. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Mayor.
Get the sign.
We all sign up, Carl.
You give me the first. Don't leave. You want to go? All Is that one there?
I don't like doing this.
Okay. It only affects so it's all it takes is one no vote.
Well, there was one. Okay, that's fine.
Well, he's going to have all of it. We can have a meeting there. On the finance committee, we're going to have that. One other meeting. Oh,
You can't bring something up and then put it on the
no, we can bring it up and have it on August 2nd. Somebody's why is it not going to bring up about the thing?
You got to be spending for it.
Yeah.
And you guys realize, you have to rework it.
I know, yeah, that's right.
Then if you read the ordinance, you know there's three of them, you do not.
Have fun, any of them, no words. Well, we can't, so there have to be another. I agree.